Hi, this is Greg Anderson. I'm here at Amoeba Music, and this is what's in my bag. I came in specifically looking for this Black Sabbath Paranoid Deluxe version with some bonus discs on it, some live stuff, and I guess it's a remaster. Sabbath is kind of, everything kind of starts and ends for me and a lot of the bands that I work with on the label. And so this is, I mean, an incredibly important band and album. When I was in the 6th grade, I had this teacher. He would allow one person that had been particularly good to bring in an album, and there was this girl that I had a crush on in the 6th grade, and she was cool. You know, I think she even smoked cigarettes, you know, which was just like no one did that. And she brought in Paranoid, and I remember the gatefold. She opened it up, and there's that picture in the field, and Ozzy like just looking so ominous with his cross. I was just like, whoa, what is this? And the song she chose to play was Iron Man, which of course, you know, I hadn't heard at the time. It's just like the most darkest but strangely magnetic thing I'd ever heard. I'm kind of a geek for all this Sabbath stuff, and I have a lot of live bootlegs, but these ones don't look familiar. This is an amazing underground metal band called Grief. It's like a huge influence on me musically, actually. When I started high school, I got really, I was really into classic rock, and I was really into Sabbath and stuff like that, but then I got turned on to Black Flag, and from then on it was all about punk rock. But there was a few bands that came out, particularly the Melvins, who mixed the punk and hardcore Black Flag with Sabbath, and I was hooked on that sound. I'm a huge fan of it, and played in several bands that have beaten that style to death. But this is one band that plays in that style that's just ridiculously slow. It's like the Melvins on Quaaludes. It's even slower. Found these Soundgarden bootlegs that I didn't have before. I'm a huge fan of this band. I grew up in Seattle, and this is one of those bands that they also had Sabbath as an influence and punk rock, but they kind of took it to a whole further level, went way beyond. But I've always been a big fan of these guys, and I wasn't aware of these. So these are from kind of what I would consider their best era, which was right before Bad Motorfinger came out, or right during Bad Motorfinger, which is pretty much that's my favorite era of that band. Lately, I've got really obsessed with Bernard Herrmann and his soundtracks, specifically for Vertigo. This movie is it's mesmerizing. It's just so dark, and the pacing is it's like a drug almost. Watching that movie, it's something about it is really special. Recently, I just got I've been listening to this soundtrack over and over and over again. Usually in my car, I'll listen to something extremely heavy and loud, and oftentimes fast. I started listening to the Vertigo soundtrack in my car when I'm driving, and I find it to be a lot more calming, and makes me feel better. And then when I get home from work, I'm chilled out. So I also picked out the special edition DVD. Also, of course, Hitchcock. I'm a huge fan, so there's Rear Window as well.
Is he cleaning house?
He's washing down the bathroom walls.
Must have splattered a lot.
And then another Bernard Herrmann score for Taxi Driver. I've seen this movie a ton of times, not for quite a long time, and I wasn't aware that he did the soundtrack till recently, and then I started listening to that as well as the soundtrack, and made a lot of sense. It's really cool. I love his work. It's dark and heavy in its own way. I thought I was done shopping, and then I got sidetracked in the jazz section, and I found these bootlegs that I didn't know existed. One was is Miles Davis from '72. He's playing material from On the Corner that's one of my favorite albums from Miles Davis, and then the Electric Period is my favorite era of his. And then that's a Mahavishnu Orchestra double live album that I didn't know existed. Of course, John McLaughlin's guitar playing is just unbelievable. Completely mind-blowing. This is a incantation album. I picked this one out. I wanted to talk about it. I'm helping put together this festival called The Power of the Riff, and Incantation is one of the bands playing this really amazing death metal band. It's been going along for a really long time. This band in particular is, I think, one of the best extreme death metal bands that has ever existed. Great band. I think that's it. The other stuff. Yeah, I think that's it. That's good. Cool.